Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. If you could do me a quick favor, see that little subscribe button at the bottom of your screen? Go ahead, click that subscribe button. Really does help our channel grow, our audience grow, and I really do appreciate it more than you know. So click that subscribe button. Appreciate your support. Now, here's the video that you came here for. Go ahead and react to all 4 college football playoff games, starting with the big one. Yeah, we are talking about the Sugar Bowl. Notre Dame defeats Georgia. Final score 23-10. Let me just say this. One, I think Marcus Freeman coached circles around Kirby Smart. Don't say it was because Carson Beck did not play. Notre Dame was the better team. Notre Dame was the deserving team. I thought Georgia and Kirby Smart specifically made 2 or 3 really big mistakes. Georgia gets the loss. Notre Dame advances. We now have a Notre Dame-Penn State semifinal next Thursday, of course, followed by Ohio State and Texas on Friday. So the semifinals are set. Georgia, the SEC champ, is out. It is worth noting all 4 teams that got the first round bye have been eliminated, and the SEC is down to just 1 team in this thing as 2 Big Ten teams remain. Notre Dame advances, and the question has to be asked, was the SEC overrated all along? We'll get to that in just a moment, but let's start with the Sugar Bowl. Listen, man, it's been a long time for Notre Dame. Your producer, Matt, came up with the stat. 31 years since they've really won one of these marquee bowl games. It was a wild game that, listen, I think we all agree, it came down to really 2 or 3 sequences. Both went in favor of Notre Dame. Both went against Georgia. Listen, Sean McDonough at the end of the game tried to make a big deal about old number 39 that got called on the, he got called for getting in the ref's way there. It led to a field goal, whatever. I'm sorry. That is not the difference in the game. By the way, shout out to number 39. Get ready to learn transfer portal, buddy, because I don't think Kirby Smart's going to take, going to be very happy with you after the game. But to me, listen, this whole thing came down to a couple sequences. So let's go ahead and dive in. The first sequence, as we all know, late first half, early second half, there was a 25-second stretch. If my math is correct, I'm not great at math, but I believe a 25-second stretch where Notre Dame scores 17 points that really blew open the game and really was the difference. By the way, drop your thoughts, drop your questions, drop your comments in the chat. Super chats, we will obviously prioritize, so get those in. We'll talk about that and the state of the SEC here coming up. But to me, listen, the game, it came down to those 25 or so seconds, late first half, early second half. As you know, Notre Dame kicks the field goal. Georgia gets the ball back. Gunnar Stockton on first down drops back. He gets stripped, recovered by Notre Dame. Notre Dame immediately scores a touchdown. One play, Riley Leonard to Bo Collins, the transfer from Clemson. Notre Dame takes that 10-3 lead into the half. And then opening kickoff of the second half. I was preparing the rest of this show during halftime. I look up. We're 15 seconds in. Notre Dame fans are going crazy because the opening kickoff is returned for a touchdown. And so, listen, the game really kind of sort of came down to that right there. And I said earlier, I think this falls on Kirby Smart because here's the bottom line. Listen, this isn't a tear down Kirby Smart. He's the worst coach that's ever walked the face of the earth. 2-time national champion, multiple-time SEC champion, has had some great teams, obviously, outside of these past couple seasons. But listen, I don't, and I think I speak for a lot of people, I just don't understand the decision with Gunnar Stockton deep in your own territory to drop back and pass late in the first half. It's a 3-3 game. I don't want to say you've been in control. That doesn't really feel like, to me, is the right way. But it was kind of a back and forth game. I mean, I saw people saying early, Notre Dame can't handle the speed, the physicality, the whatever. I don't know if I'd go that far, but what I would say is 3-3 going into the half with a quarterback making his first career start, especially with Notre Dame getting the ball in the second half. I feel like you got to take it if you're Kirby. He got greedy. The ball gets stripped. Notre Dame scores. They go up 10-3. The kickoff return makes it 17-3. And from there, they were playing catch up immediately after that and really throughout the rest of the game and never really could catch up. Beyond that, and this was the big one, and this was the moment where Marcus Freeman kind of just shoved Kirby Smart in the locker. Okay, kind of shoved him in the locker, kind of took his head and dunked it in the toilet and said, "SEC nothing. We're Notre Dame. We're coming for blood." Okay, so this was a crucial spot in this game. If you were watching, if you were not watching, I know many of you were either at work, coming back from work. It was probably about 6:30 Eastern time when this play happened. But what happened was pretty straightforward, okay? So Notre Dame has the ball deep in their own territory. There's about 7 minutes, 30 seconds left, and it's 4th and 2. They line up to punt. If Notre Dame punts it back, Georgia gets the ball back, about 7:15 to go, and obviously it's a 2-score game at that point. As they line up to punt, what happens? They immediately sprint their punt team off the field and sprint their offense on the field. Now, this is not where you criticize Georgia. Kirby Smart was actually prepared for it and ran his defense right back on the field. The play was designed to throw off Georgia. It did to a degree, but the play was really designed to, was Notre Dame actually going to run the play or not? We'll never know. But Riley Leonard got, I believe it was Jalen Walker, who's basically Georgia's best player, to jump off sides. It gives Notre Dame a first down. They pick up a subsequent first down. So keep in mind, it's a 23-10 game. That is obviously a 2-possession game with 7:17 to go. That is when that play happens. Notre Dame proceeds to run 5:17 off the clock before Georgia gets the ball back, right around the 2-minute warning, 2-minute timeout. Excuse me. We can't call it the 2-minute warning in college football. And from there, Georgia obviously has a couple plays. They cannot score. And really, it was the difference in the game. They ran 5 minutes and 17 seconds off the clock to seal the victory. Again, it didn't technically seal the victory, but Georgia needed 2 scores with about 2 minutes to go. And they were, listen, there's no other way to put it. Kirby Smart was outcoached late in that game. And I don't know what else there is to say other than congrats to Notre Dame. First of all, from the Notre Dame side of things, listen, I could take a victory lap here. I did pick Notre Dame to win this game outright. I don't feel like that this is the moment, that this is the time. It was a great back and forth game. Georgia, listen, they were right in the game. This was not the Rose Bowl, okay? This was not Oregon, Ohio State, where one team was outclassed. But what I liked about Notre Dame, really, in my opinion, going into this game, kind of played out in this game. What has Notre Dame done all season long? One, they have worn people down up front with the run game. Now, I'll be honest, early in the game, you kind of saw Riley Leonard drop back to pass a few times. You're kind of like, I see why the guy has not thrown for 250 yards in a single game all season, but they were able to establish the run game pretty early. They kind of just put the ball in Riley Leonard's hands and said, hey, dude, go make plays with your legs. Don't even worry about throwing it. Just go make plays with your legs. That's exactly what he did. He was great running the football. And then I think the other thing that really stood out, in my opinion, coming into this game, Notre Dame was great. And this is what we said. They have a great secondary and they are elite at forcing turnovers. And so to me, that was going to be an X factor. You have a young quarterback, first career start. He looked nervous. He looked pressured. Credit to the Notre Dame front seven, because the Notre Dame front seven, without Riley Mills, they were able to get pressure on Georgia pretty much throughout the game, get Gunnar Stockton uncomfortable. Really felt like the entire second half, outside of a play or two. I know Georgia obviously did score a second half touchdown, but really the entire second half, what's his face? Gunnar Stockton was on his heels. So much credit to Notre Dame. They get the victory. For Georgia, again, I'm not going to tear down Georgia, because to me, a couple things. One, and by the way, we're going to have the big picture SEC conversation in a second. Don't you worry. I never believed that Georgia was a great team pretty much from about the third game on from the season, okay? And so to me, this can't be this monumental up. First of all, Notre Dame was favored, so you can't say it was like a monumental upset. But two, I said it in our preview last week. I like Georgia. I don't love Georgia. By the way, Georgia was my preseason national championship pick, so I would have loved for them to be awesome and unbeatable, looking like Ohio State, but that's never who they were. I go back to early in the season. Go back to the Kentucky game. Remember that game a million years ago? If Mark Stoops doesn't punt at his own 48 or whatever, what was it, 4th and 7? I can't even remember. Kentucky might beat Georgia. Then you go throughout the season, and yes, they had these really high highs, beating Texas twice, winning the SEC championship. But what did I say on the preview show last week? I said, I get that that Georgia just won the SEC. They beat Texas. One, we're going to talk about Texas in a minute. Texas has some issues. But two, what did I say? The game before for Georgia, they could have easily lost to Texas, or they could have easily lost to Georgia Tech. It was an 8 overtime game at home against a 6-6 Georgia Tech team. By the way, a Georgia Tech team that Notre Dame beat up pretty good, a Georgia Tech team that Clemson beat. So I just bring it up because it's not to say that Georgia wasn't deserving or did not belong there, but it is to say this was a fundamentally flawed team all season long. They were the SEC champ. They deserve that 2 seed. They deserve the positioning based on the current playoff format, but it doesn't mean that they were infallible. It doesn't mean that they were unbeatable, and Notre Dame gets the win.